All right, good morning. Welcome to Wednesday. I know the biggest question you all have is how I'm doing this week. After the crushing defeat last weekend, I'm working on my own mental health. I'm avoiding ESPN from the very minute of the game ending until next Sunday when I watch other football. And so I'm surviving. Um, I'm surviving. Yes. So I will be okay. So thanks for asking. And it's a good theme for mental health. What do you do for your mental health? Well, mine this week is avoid sports on ESPN and do other things. So anyway, seriously, back to this topic though of the mental dimension of wellness and how do we do that? Obviously, something uh, very near and dear to my heart in terms of what I do throughout the day and week. And so sharing some things on Monday about three really significant focuses to make sure mental health is going in the right direction. Really, three key points to make. And the first one was, can you identify the negative thoughts that exist in your life? Because I think mental health is significantly tied to the negative thoughts that exist, whether those come from the past, whether they come from present personal self-doubts, maybe they come from uncertainties about the future. And I tried to share a few of those. We'll talk about them a little bit in a few minutes. But if you can address the negative self-talk in your life, then your mental health is going to rise proportionally. Second is we've talked about isolation a lot around here. So if you can do life with somebody else, specifically, you can find somebody to talk to. If that's a family member, if that's a friend, if that's a mentor, and if those don't exist, professional counseling steps into the gap. We are able to be that person for those that don't have it. But if you can find someone to talk to, then life suddenly becomes a little bit more manageable. You don't feel as alone, and that will have a direct impact on the level of your mental health and the quality of your mental health. But finally, I also was talking about, just as you guys prioritize all of the physical health needs that we talked about last week, I want it to really be scheduled that you're working on your mental health as well. And this is a little bit more extensive than just saying, hey, do you have the margin so you can rest and recover? That's certainly a part of it. But I mean, like, really work on it. If there is something that is not the way you want it to be, you have to dedicate some time to that, whether that's reading, whether that's the conversation with somebody else, or it's the time to reflect and be able to do that. And so I made some suggestions as well about how to make sure you anchor it into your schedule. Some key exercises, right? Some focuses this week is, are you willing, are you, I might even say, courageous enough to list out on a piece of paper, what are the negative thoughts that affect you in your life? Maybe it's the self-doubt, maybe it's some other ones that I'll read, maybe it is something else. If you can list those and really then start to put on the opposite side of that piece of paper, what are the positive ones about that? Or what are the ones that get you halfway away from the negative self-talk? That would be a very significant step to do it. And then identify somebody. Really spend the time this week thinking, who is the person that'll walk with me through life? And if you have at least one, that's going to help. If you have multiple of that, two or three, it's really going to be a significant impact. So if you hear anything from me this morning, it's, if your mental health is struggling, there's probably something missing from your life. And as soon as you take a concrete step about that, it's going to improve. Just that confidence that each of you can initiate that and feel better or recommend it for other people. So I've hinted at a few of the thoughts that stand in the way or just some obstacles for it. And so I thought I'd share 5 reasons, right, to go to counseling or to get help from anyone, anywhere, under any approach, right? So don't have to be alone. And one first of these is that the challenges in life are so significant. If you try and take it on alone, you will not have the results you want. It doesn't mean you'll fail. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to have any kind of progress, but it probably will mean that the goals you have, the way you want to feel, the confidence you want to have, the certainty about who you are, will not be the degree that you want. We need people outside of our situation who can hold the rope for us, who can encourage us, who can give us advice, who aren't affected by the day-to-day things. So again, whether it's a family member, a friend, a mentor, somebody else, or even as far as professional counseling. One of the negative thoughts that is a significant factor, and again, working with people throughout the week, this shows up time and time again, it's this one. You don't have to be perfect, and someone can help you learn how to accept that. So many people are driven by the results I have to be perfect, or my actions have to be perfect. Any kind of mistake is going to be a problem. Okay, so that's one that you have to be able to overcome. People can help you do that. Again, there's this idea that failures can be reframed. We're all going to have failures, but far too often people see those failures as a summary of their skills and abilities and who they are as a person. So if those can be talked about, discussed, reframed, rescripted, you have a chance to not see yourself as the sum of all your failures, but rather the wisdom that comes from what you've learned from those life experiences. Another significant one that comes into the counseling office is people who think their worth is insignificant or it lacks or it's been harmed in a significant way. So just recognizing that the more you can understand your worth and base it on some things, we talked about that from time to time, the more you can have a solid foundation for your worth, the much stronger and deeper you're going to be in how you face the challenges and the situations that will come in life. Very significant to mental health. And then finally, saying it this way, is I believe there's always choices people can make. No matter what they're facing, no matter what the degree or severity or challenge of a situation, there's a choice they can make, whether in regards to their response, in regards to the meanings they take from it, in regards to who they allow to be a part of their life during that circumstance. But one of those negative thoughts is people think, I'm alone, there's nothing I can do. So helplessness and hopelessness kind of reign in those moments. But if you have somebody near you, then you're able to more easily see what those choices are to feel better. So just some encouragement there, some specific things to overcome those negative thoughts or to just see the power of if your mental health is not the way you want it to be, there are intentional actions you can take and it will proportionally get better. So those bring us to a couple of questions for this morning. First one, can you share any of the best advice you've gotten from anybody who's helped you feel better about yourself? What is a piece of advice somebody said? Maybe there's a little snippet, a little quote, a little direction about how to live. Is there any advice that you've gotten that you could pass on this morning that has helped you feel better mentally? Anything come to mind? Think of all the signatures on the bottom of your emails that you send. Little quotes, little encouragements. Those count. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. That's a great example. Doing it with people and seeing that the result at the end, there's probably some level of wisdom that's come and really looking for the positive in a difficult situation. Yeah, it's a great example. Other things people have said um, or encouraged you to do that have made you feel better? Hmm, that's a great example. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to accept. If we mentioned around here, it's hard to accept compliments. It's also hard to accept the good qualities that people can see that we may not see in ourselves. So it's a good intentional action to let some new reframes kind of sink in and go from there. Good examples. Second question is, how do you prioritize your mental health each week? Is there a specific action you do that helps you say, this is the time when I try and feel better about myself mentally? How do you prioritize that yourself? I know you all prioritize your physical health because you're here at 5 a.m. How do I know you prioritize your mental health? And yes, I'm distinguishing them. I'm trying to be intentional because I said mental health is about doing work on your mental health. That's the key part we're focusing this week. Not that we know the gym makes us feel good. We know the people here make us feel good. But this is the intentional extra work you're doing. What do? When there's a problem, when there's a negative thought, or you don't feel good, what's the work you do? How do you prioritize it?
no music and don't tell the dogs, but no dogs like by myself.
Mhm.
We get very mad.
With some intentional reflection time.
Yeah.
Intentional time away from stressors or whatever else. Yeah? That's good. So prioritizing time alone, prioritizing reflection time, that's a good one. Again, a lot of noise in our life, in our culture. It's hard to find the time to be quiet. But that's where a lot of thoughts can be encountered, worked on, changed. Any others?
Doesn't seem like it's mental health, but
Mhm.
it does.
Yeah, yeah, those are in that margin quality time thing. Good answers. Others? Yeah.
Laying on some thought all night.
Hmm. Okay. So that's the good one there. The transparency piece, right? Let me share with someone specifically. That's that willingness, the transparency, the courage sometimes to be able to say that. So you're putting yourself in an environment where that can happen, and I think that's a good connection between these answers. Remember, isolation, silence, withdrawal are three things that will allow mental health to really go down quickly. So if you can work to be transparent, work to be around people, and work to be engaged, next week is about emotional dimension of wellness. So we're going to talk a lot about that next week. But it's a good example. It's one of those benefits of community and wellness and why it works so well around here. So some final comments about it. This may be an understatement, or maybe it makes sense to a lot of people, but a lack of belief in yourself, right, leaves a void where your well-being just kind of is absent in that moment. And if it's a simple sentence summary of why mental health is important, I'd say that is it. And when people lack a belief in themselves, or a confidence, or an esteem, or an efficacy about who they are and what they can do, this gap leaves a lot of room for a lot of other things to show up. Negative thoughts, negative behaviors, poor coping, and we want that to be filled with a lot of intentional work, people, connection, community, etc. So if that void can be filled, mental health is going to go up. Reminding you that small changes in your thinking will lead to better changes, right? Because if you can identify one little change, and then here's the next step, can you take a calculated risk to act on it, right? If you believe something is real and it's good enough and you take a step on it, you're immediately going to get some feedback. And that might be like adding one more step up to the place you want to be and how you want to live and how you want to see yourself. So recognize those small steps and actions work. And then finally, I'm really focusing it on this way, that just as you can add up all of the time you spend physically working on things, whether it's the hours at the gym or the time you spend eating healthy, or you try and stay hydrated throughout the day, that all adds up to minutes in the course of your day and week. What I'm encouraging people to do is, can you have a proportional, might even say an equal amount of time that you spend intentionally working on your mental health? If there's a barrier, you're trying to take it on. If there's a negative thought, you're working to memorize and live out a positive version. If you feel alone, you've spent an hour or two this week trying to find someone to talk to, or you've spent time talking to them, or you've had a chance to read a book about changing something about yourself or how you view. So really see if you can add up a number of minutes or hours where you've intentionally worked on growing in your mental health. I think that, and you'll see it pay dividends over the course of time. So this week, mental dimension of wellness, it will not just get better on its own. You have to be intentional about it. And I want it to be a distinct layer from the physical work you do, or being in the environments, yes, like the gym, but then what do you do when you're there? Is there a conversation afterwards? Is there a follow-up conversation? Are we staying connected with each other? Are we being transparent? All of that comes to mind. And the proportional improvements will come when you take those steps. So it's good to talk about it this week. As I said, next week we'll go into emotions, because they're so often tied together, mental and emotional health. So I'll look forward to that time. But this week, there's some challenges out there. Can you take on the negative thoughts? Can you connect with someone? Can you identify who that person is? You all should have that answer. Who's the person I talk to about my mental health? Sometimes it's a partner. Many other times it's somebody distinct from that, and that's good. If you have that person in mind, I'm really encouraged for you. And then spend the time adding it up and working on it, and you will see the results just like you do in the gym. So good to see everybody. Have a good workout, a good week, and I'll see you next Wednesday too. Thanks.